The photograph landed on Marco Valenti's desk like a ghost from another lifetime. It was nearly 3 a.m., the hour when even monsters feel alone. His penthouse overlooked Chicago's skyline, neon veins pulsing through a sleeping city he both ruled and resented. He didn't need to turn the photo over to know who it was. He saw her face and froze, thick glasses, metal braces, a thin scar slashing across her cheek, a name scrawled at the bottom in faded ink. Sophia Reeves, Valley Prep, class of 2015. The girl they used to call ugly. The one they laughed at while she bled. The one he never defended. Marco leaned back in his chair, shadows stretching across a room filled with power. Mahogany, glass, chrome, and silence. Every inch of this empire was built on choices he could never take back. And this picture was a reminder of one he regretted most. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He didn't speak when he answered. "You remember her?" A voice rasped. Vincent Caruso, his father's oldest debt, a name that tasted like gunpowder and ghosts. Marco's jaw flexed. "What do you want, Vinny?" "The Bellini Gala, 3 weeks. You're bringing her." A humorless laugh escaped him. "She's nobody." "She's somebody now. Works for the feds, unofficially. Tracks money through shell corporations like a magician. And she's been watching you, Marco. Real close." He turned toward the glass, the city shimmering like broken glass below. Watched him? That girl? No. That woman. He crossed the room, grabbed his secondary laptop, one scrubbed clean of bugs, and began typing. Within minutes, her name appeared across encrypted reports, highlighted in red. Sophia Reeves, forensic accountant, consulting for federal investigators. Her notes traced straight into Valenti Holdings, his shipping containers, his restaurants, his secrets. The air felt thinner. What does she want from me? Maybe nothing. Maybe revenge. Vincent's breath crackled like static. But here's what I want. You owe me, Valenti. You bring her to the gala. Let everyone see the big bad wolf walking in with the girl he once left to bleed. Why? Marco asked, voice low. Because debts always come due. A beat. Then softer. She wears a mask. No one sees her face till midnight. Those are her terms. Don't test her. The call ended, leaving only silence and the slow tick of a clock that suddenly felt loud enough to break glass. Marco stared at the skyline again, but all he could see was her. The cafeteria, the laughter, the look in her eyes when he didn't move. The girl with blood on her hands, not from violence, but from falling into shards while others pointed and laughed. He told himself he hadn't joined them. He just hadn't stopped them. Now she was hunting him. He opened her professional profile. The braces were gone, the glasses replaced by contacts. She'd learned to tilt her face to hide the scar, but it was there. Proof of cruelty, proof of survival. Marco's phone buzzed again. A text from his sister, Isabella. Tommy's late with the quarterly reports. Should I worry? Tommy? He frowned. Cross-referenced the name. Thomas Reeves. 24, degree in finance. Hired 8 months ago. His pulse quickened. Reeves. No, it couldn't be. He dialed his lieutenant. Luca, the new accountant, Thomas Reeves. Who brought him in? Harry Martinez recommended him. Good kid. Quiet. Why? Marco's gaze slid back to the photo on his desk. Sophia's eyes seemed to stare back. He hung up. The room felt smaller now, the walls closing in. Sophia Reeves, once powerless, now holding a file that could burn his kingdom to ash. And her brother, working inside his empire. He reached for the photograph again. She looked different, stronger. But those eyes, he knew them. They were the same eyes that had once begged him, just for kindness, and found none. For the first time in years, Marco Valenti felt afraid. Not of death, but of atonement. He poured 2 fingers of whiskey, let it burn down his throat, then set the glass beside the photo. There were only 2 kinds of power in this world. The power to hurt, and the power to forgive. He had mastered the first, but tonight, the second had just walked back into his life. His phone buzzed again. Another message from Vincent. Don't disappoint me, kid. The gala decides everything. Marco stared at the text, then at Sophia's picture. Her scar, her eyes, the reflection of the man he'd been. The man he'd sworn to kill. He whispered to the empty room, voice low as confession. Looks like the past finally found me. The city outside pulsed like a heartbeat, and somewhere, in an office lit by lonely fluorescent light, Sophia Reeves traced numbers that spelled his name. As dawn bled through the skyline, Marco clicked open one last file. Her case folder. Inside, a single line glared back at him. Primary target, Marco Valenti, Operation Clean Ledger. His breath caught. The girl he failed to protect was now the woman who could destroy him, and he couldn't decide whether it was justice or fate. The glow of Sophia Reeves's computer screen painted her office in shades of exhaustion. 2:07 a.m. The city outside was quiet, but her world buzzed with data. Wire transfers, shell companies, import manifests. Every path, every number, led back to one man, Marco Valenti. She leaned back in her chair, rubbing the bridge of her nose beneath her glasses. The scar along her cheekbone caught the cold light, a silver reminder of who she used to be and why she never stopped chasing truth. Numbers didn't lie. People did. 2 years she'd followed this trail, never realizing how close it would circle to her own past. She should have stopped the moment she saw the Valenti name, but curiosity had turned into obsession, and obsession into a purpose she couldn't abandon. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated. It was late. Too late for anyone decent. She answered anyway. Ms. Reeves, a low, smooth voice said. Calm. Dangerous. You've been busy. The sound of him froze her blood. Marco, older now, darker. His voice carried weight, regret, and control. The boy from the cafeteria had become a man who could command a room with a whisper. How did you get this number? She asked, steady but guarded. You've been watching me for 2 years. Fair's fair. A pause. We need to talk. I don't meet criminals, she said flatly. That's funny, he murmured, because you've been following one. The silence between them hummed with memory. 10 years vanished. For a heartbeat, she was back in that cafeteria, glass shattering, laughter echoing, the taste of iron and shame in her mouth. And him, standing in the crowd, looking, doing nothing. What do you want, Marco? Not on the phone, he said. You're building something dangerous. For both of us. She swallowed, fighting the storm rising inside her. If you're worried about the investigation, I'm not worried, he cut in. I'm interested. His tone carried a strange warmth, one she didn't trust. Interested in silencing me? In understanding you? A pause. In debts? And second chances. Her fingers curled into fists. You don't get second chances with people you abandoned. Another silence, heavier this time, weighted with things they hadn't said in a decade. Then, the Bellini Gala. 3 weeks. You'll be my guest. She almost laughed. You think I'd walk into a room full of your associates, on your arm, like some... You'll wear a mask, he interrupted, voice suddenly sharp. No one will see your face until midnight. Her breath hitched. Why would I ever agree to that? Because someone wants you there, Sophia, and not just me. His voice softened. You're not safe. You think you're hunting me, but someone's already set the trap. For both of us. Sophia stared at the dark city through her window. The skyline blinked back like a code she couldn't crack. You're lying. I don't lie to people I owe. Her heart stumbled. Owe? You think this is about you clearing your conscience? No, he said quietly. It's about survival. Click. The line went dead. Sophia sat frozen, the hum of machines filling the room. A mask, a gala, a trap. Her hands trembled as she reached for her files. If Marco Valenti was contacting her directly, he wasn't trying to intimidate her. He was warning her, and that terrified her more. Her eyes landed on a stack of records, payroll documents, transfers, employee lists. One name glared back. Thomas Reeves, her brother. Her stomach dropped. She clicked through the records. 8 months of consistent deposits. Valenti Holdings, LLC, health insurance, performance bonuses. No mistake. Tommy worked for Marco. God, no, she whispered. Her pulse quickened. She pulled up her brother's contact, straight to voicemail. Again and again. She gripped the edge of her desk, the realization hitting hard. She'd been trying to expose the man who now controlled her brother's future. Everything she thought she understood, the clean lines between justice and crime, blurred into gray. Why hadn't Tommy told her? Why had Marco? Her phone buzzed again. A text this time. Unknown number. You'll want to check the latest customs reports. Look at shipment Jarkray 90413. She opened the file. A Valenti cargo manifest. The consignee, a charity organization she'd never noticed before, Chicago Children's Reconstruction Fund, and under donor, Valenti Holdings. Her breath caught. He'd been funding surgeries for injured children, quietly, without credit. Her chest ached with something dangerous. Confusion, anger, something that felt too much like hope. Maybe he wasn't just the man she'd feared. Maybe he was the man he'd wanted to be back then, before power hardened him. No. She shook her head. It didn't matter. Redemption stories didn't exist in real life. She started gathering her notes, evidence, files, backups. If she was walking into his world, she'd do it on her terms. Armor, made of truth. Then the lights flickered. A small noise from the hallway, like a door closing softly. Sophia froze. It was late. No one should be here. She reached for her drawer, the gun she kept hidden under case files. Footsteps, slow, measured, coming closer. Her phone buzzed one last time. Marco. You're not alone. Don't panic, don't run, they're watching. The footsteps stopped outside her office. A shadow crossed the frosted glass. Sophia aimed her weapon at the door, breath caught in her throat. The handle turned, and as it did, one thought cut through the terror. If this was Marco's world, she'd just stepped into it. The door creaked open, and a voice she hadn't heard in months whispered her name. Soph, it's me. Her brother. But behind him, in the reflection of the glass, someone else moved. Perfect. Let's raise the stakes. Rain drummed against the old stone walls of Holy Name Cathedral, its echoes swallowed by vaulted ceilings and candlelight. In the quiet hush of dawn, Marco Valenti stood before his mother's grave, a single white rose in hand. He wasn't the kind of man who prayed, but tonight he didn't know what else to do. He had agreed to meet her here, the girl he'd once watched shatter into glass while he stood frozen, the woman now sharp enough to dismantle his empire with a spreadsheet. Sophia Reeves. He checked his watch. 6:59 a.m. He'd chosen the time deliberately, early enough to feel like confession, late enough to make escape impossible. A door creaked. Soft footsteps echoed down the aisle. He turned and saw her. She moved like someone who had learned to survive by disappearing. Dark coat, hair tied back, glasses glinting faintly. But her chin was lifted, and her hand stayed near her bag. A bag he knew held a weapon. She'd come armed. Smart girl. You chose a church, she said quietly, her voice steady but brittle. Symbolic. Or strategic, Marco replied. No one dies in a cathedral, at least not loudly. Her eyes narrowed. Then talk. He nodded toward a pew. Sit, please. Sophia hesitated, then walked closer, the sound of her heels tapping like a metronome counting down the past 10 years. She sat opposite him, the aisle a thin river of distance between two versions of the same wound. You called me, she said. Why? Marco rested the rose gently on the wood. Because someone's using you, and because your brother's caught in the crossfire. Her breath caught. He saw it, the flicker of fear behind the calm. Tommy? He works for me, you already know that. He met her eyes. What you don't know is that someone's been setting him up. Who? That's what I'm trying to find out. But if I'm right, the Bellini Gala is the stage, you're the bait, and I'm the target. Sophia's mind raced, connecting pieces. So this isn't about your reputation. It's about survival. It's about control, Marco corrected softly. If I bring you, they think they've cornered me. If we play it right, we corner them. Her jaw tightened. You want me to walk into a den of criminals as your date? You think I'm that naive? No. His voice softened. I think you're brave enough to face the monsters who made you, including me. The words landed between them like confession. Sophia's eyes searched his face, older, scarred by choices, but the same bone structure she remembered. The same eyes that had looked away while she bled. Tell me the truth, she said. Why didn't you help me that day? Marco's gaze dropped to the pew beneath his hands. Because my father was still alive. Because kindness was weakness. Because if I'd chosen you, he'd have destroyed you to punish me. She exhaled shakily, anger warring with something more fragile. So you saved yourself? He nodded. And lost the only thing that ever made me feel human. Her pulse stumbled. You didn't even know me. I knew enough, he said quietly. Enough to regret. The silence stretched, fragile as stained glass. Outside, thunder rolled like a closing door. Sophia leaned back, folding her arms. You said someone's using me. Who? Vincent Caruso, Marco said. He's dying, wants to tie off old debts before he goes. He's forcing me to honor promises my father made in blood. You're part of that payment. Her brows furrowed. Why me? Because you're not just the girl they mocked anymore. His voice softened. You're the woman who could destroy me. Bringing you means submission, humiliation. It makes me look weak. And that's exactly what Vincent wants. Sophia absorbed this, every nerve on high alert. And you'll do it. I don't have a choice. You always have a choice. Not when people you care about are in the crosshairs. His eyes met hers. You understand that better than anyone. Her throat tightened. You're talking about Tommy. I'm talking about both of us, he said. Lightning flashed through the stained glass, scattering fractured color across the pews. For a brief, trembling second, Sophia's face was painted in red and gold, fire and forgiveness. You'll wear a mask, Marco continued. No one sees your face till midnight. It's part protection, part performance. And what do you get out of this? Time, leverage, answers. He hesitated, then added, and maybe a chance to make something right. She studied him for a long moment, then reached into her bag, sliding a photograph across the pew. You want answers? Start with this. Marco leaned forward. The image hit him like a punch. Tommy, beaten, bloody, slumped against a brick wall sprayed with graffiti. A location Marco knew too well. Enemy territory. His voice dropped to a growl. Where did you get this? It was taped to my door this morning. Her eyes flashed. You tell me what it means. Marco's mind raced. That alley belonged to a man who'd been waiting for a reason to start a war. Danny Chen. He rose abruptly, the weight of old ghosts and new danger colliding. Get up, we're leaving. Sophia blinked. What? Now, Sophia. His voice hardened, commanding. If we're lucky, your brother's still alive. She stood, heart pounding. You know where he is. I know who took him. As thunder cracked above the cathedral, Marco grabbed his coat and started toward the doors. Sophia followed, adrenaline replacing fear. She didn't trust him. But if Tommy was in danger, trust didn't matter. Outside, rain hit like gunfire. Marco unlocked the black sedan waiting at the curb. Get in, he ordered. Sophia hesitated. If this is a trap, then we both burn, he said, eyes fierce. But I don't let family die, not anymore. She met his gaze, searching for the lie. Found none, then climbed in. The engine roared to life, tires slicing through puddles as the car sped into Chicago's storm-soaked streets. Somewhere in the shadows, a life hung in the balance. and for the first time in a decade, Marco Valenti was running toward redemption, not away from it. Sofia loaded his gun without being asked. Marco glanced over, startled. "You've done this before," he said. Her reply was steady. "Not for you." As the city blurred past, a voice crackled through Marco's comms. "Boss, you're too late." The black sedan tore through Chicago's south side, tires slicing through rain-slick streets, thunder chasing them like a curse. Marco Valenti's knuckles whitened on the wheel, jaw tight, eyes scanning the GPS as Sofia sat beside him. Cold determination etched across her face. Every turn they took brought them closer to the edge of territory ruled by Danny Chen, a rival with old grudges and new ambitions. A man who loved poetic justice, a man cruel enough to leave a brother bleeding where a sister could find him. Sofia's phone rested in her lap, her fingers trembling over the screen. "That photo, you're sure it's real?" Marco's eyes stayed forward. "It's not a threat. It's a message. To you, to both of us." His voice lowered. "Danny knows who you are. He knows who Tommy is. He wants me to choose silence or war." Sofia stared out the rain-streaked window, city lights blurring into streaks of gold. "And what do you choose?" "War." His grip tightened. "If he's hurt your brother, I end him." She looked at him then, the man everyone feared, the boy she once saw look away, and wondered which one she was riding beside now. They turned down a narrow street lined with warehouses, the kind of place where screams vanished under passing trains. The GPS blinked. Destination reached. Marco killed the lights, parked 2 blocks away. Sofia reached for the gun in the glove box, the same weapon he'd handed her at the cathedral. Without a word, she checked the chamber and tucked it into her coat. Marco arched an eyebrow. "You've done this before." "Not for you," she said, voice steady. Rain soaked her hair as they stepped into the alley, boots splashing through puddles reflecting crimson neon. Marco signaled with 2 fingers. His men emerged from the shadows, silent and armed. He motioned toward a metal door half hidden behind dumpsters. "Inside." Sofia nodded, following his lead. Her pulse thundered, not from fear, but from fury. Marco kicked the door open. Gunfire cracked. 1 shot. Close. Sofia flinched, but didn't freeze. Inside, flickering light revealed chaos. A shattered chair, blood on the concrete, the smell of sweat and iron. And there, slumped against a wall, Tommy. "Tommy!" Sofia rushed forward, dropping to her knees beside him. Her brother looked up, face bruised, lip split, eyes dazed, but alive. "Soph," he rasped. "You shouldn't be here." She touched his cheek, fighting tears. "Neither should you." Marco crouched beside them, scanning the wounds. "He'll live." Tommy's gaze flicked to him, recognition, then confusion. "Boss?" Sofia froze. "He calls you boss?" Marco ignored it. "Who did this?" Tommy coughed, blood on his teeth. "Didn't see faces. 2 men, maybe 3. Said Danny wanted a message sent." "Which message?" Marco asked. Tommy's hand trembled as he reached for his pocket, pulling out a crumpled piece of paper. Marco unfolded it. 3 words scrawled in red ink. "Midnight, Bellini Gala." Sofia's breath caught. "He's setting a trap." Marco nodded grimly. "Then we'll walk into it on our terms." His men fanned out, securing the room. One radioed, "Area clear." "Get him up," Marco ordered. Sofia bristled. "He needs a hospital." "You'll have one," Marco said, already pulling off his jacket to wrap around Tommy. "Mine." He lifted the young man easily, muscles tense, but movements gentle. Sofia followed, heart in her throat, watching a man who commanded killers carry her brother like something precious. Outside, the convoy waited, 3 black SUVs idling like sentinels. Marco climbed into the back seat with Tommy in his arms. Sofia slid in beside them, clutching her brother's hand as rain pounded against the windows. When they arrived, the hospital lobby emptied at a single look from Marco. Power obeyed him, but when the doctors came running, his voice softened. "Do everything you can," he said quietly. He's family. Sophia's eyes flicked to him. Why help him? Marco met her gaze. Because he's yours. Those words cracked something inside her, a wall she'd spent 10 years building. She wanted to hate him, to hold on to the version of Marco Valenti that didn't move. But the man beside her now wasn't still. He was trying. She watched through the glass as doctors treated Tommy. Marco stood beside her, soaked and silent, shoulders heavy with the weight of choices. You carry guilt like armor, she murmured. He gave a humorless smile. Armor's easier than forgiveness. Before she could reply, the elevator chimed. A woman stepped out, elegant despite her scars, silk scarf tied loosely around her neck. Her eyes were sharp, knowing. Elena. Sophia recognized her instantly, the legendary mask maker. The name whispered in underground forums. She hadn't expected her to be real. Elena, Marco greeted. You came. You called. Her gaze swept Sophia, then softened slightly. So this is the girl. Sophia stiffened. You know about me? Elena smiled faintly. I know what it means to be broken and still stand. Marco frowned. What are you doing here? Cleaning up the mess your father left behind. She turned to Sophia. And warning you both, the gala isn't redemption. It's a stage. Someone wants you dead before the curtain falls. Sophia crossed her arms. Danny Chen. Elena shook her head slowly. Danny isn't the only ghost walking into that ballroom. Before Sophia could ask, Marco's phone buzzed. A security feed appeared on screen, grainy footage from earlier. A man stepping into the alley where Tommy had been found, checking for witnesses, removing gloves. The camera caught his face. Sophia's breath hitched. I know him. Marco's eyes narrowed. Who is he? Her voice broke. Danny Chen. He was at Valley Prep. He's the one who pushed me. The reason for the scar. Marco's expression darkened, fury and guilt bleeding together. So it wasn't random. It was personal. Sophia swallowed hard, staring at the screen, at the face that had haunted her. He's not just trying to destroy you, Marco. He's finishing what he started. The room went silent. Thunder rolled outside, and for the first time, they weren't just allies in danger. They were two survivors bound by the same past. Elena stepped closer, her voice low. If Danny's resurfaced, he's not acting alone. She slid a flash drive across the table. Inside are names, and one of them sits in this building. Marco froze. You're saying there's a traitor? Elena nodded. Closer than you think. The rain had stopped by morning, but the tension inside Marco Valenti's war room was a storm of its own. Screens glowed with surveillance feeds, financial graphs, and maps of Chicago divided into territories, each line representing lives, loyalties, and debts. Sophia Reeves sat at the long glass table, her laptop open, data spilling across the screen. She looked out of place among men who carried guns instead of pens, but no one dared underestimate the woman beside their boss. Not after last night. Marco stood at the head of the table, eyes locked on the footage Elena had given him. He'd watched it 3 times already. Danny Chen, smiling, calm, wiping blood off his hands. Sophia broke the silence. Danny's not hiding anymore. He's taunting you. He's taunting us, Marco corrected, voice low. This isn't just business. He's rewriting history. He wants everyone to see the girl he hurt, standing beside the man who didn't stop it. Her jaw tightened. And he wants that story to end the same way. Marco turned toward the table, palms flat against cold glass. Then we'll change the ending. One of his lieutenants shifted nervously. Boss, we can strike first. Take Chen's warehouses. No. Marco's voice cut through the room. We don't start a war we can't finish. Sophia's eyes flicked to him. This man who ruled an empire but refused blind vengeance. It wasn't the Marco she'd built in her mind. It was someone new. Someone better. She pushed her glasses up, scrolling through files. Danny's funneling money through ghost accounts tied to your legitimate businesses. He's not just trying to kill you. He's building evidence, making it look like you're laundering through charities and restaurants. Marco's gaze darkened. He's framing me. And using my investigation to do it, Sophia said. He wants me to connect dots that lead straight back to you. A perfect loop. Marco stepped closer, studying the screen over her shoulder. Can you prove he planted the evidence? Not yet. She looked up at him. But I can find the source. Someone on your side is helping him. The room went still. Elena's warning echoed in his head. One of them sits in this building. Marco scanned the faces of his men. Loyalty carved into their expressions, but loyalty was easy to counterfeit. He'd learned that from his father. Pull everyone's communication logs, he ordered. Cross-check calls, messages, transactions. Anyone who touched the Chen accounts in the last 6 months. Sophia's fingers flew across the keyboard, eyes narrowing as data filled the screen. Got something. She zoomed in. A pattern emerged, subtle, buried in noise, but there. Encrypted messages, relayed through offshore servers, originating from... Her voice faltered. Marco leaned in. From where? Her gaze lifted. Your inner circle. He froze. Who? Sophia hesitated. I need a name before I accuse anyone. He stepped back, letting her work. His mind raced, cataloging every man he trusted, and the reasons he shouldn't. As Sophia decrypted the final layer, she spoke softly, almost to herself. You were right about Danny's motive. It's not just power, it's humiliation. He wants to destroy you in front of everyone, and me with you. Because of Valley Prep, Marco said. She nodded. He stared at the monitor, remembering the day Danny pushed her, the laughter, the blood, the silence he never broke. He hurt you because he could, because I let him. Sophia looked up. You didn't push me. No, Marco said, but I didn't pull you up either. For a moment the war room faded. It was just them. 2 survivors of the same cruelty, standing on opposite sides of a memory. The computer chimed. Sophia's screen blinked with a decrypted signature. She inhaled sharply. Marco, it's someone close. He leaned over her shoulder. The name appeared in bold. Luca Romano, his most trusted captain, the man who'd stood by him since day 1. Marco's eyes went cold. He wouldn't. Sophia's tone softened. Betrayal rarely looks like betrayal until it's too late. He turned away, pacing. Luca's daughter. She's sick. Danny could be using her. Then he's forcing Luca's hand. Sophia rose, crossing her arms. Which means Danny's planning something bigger. The gala isn't just about exposure. It's an execution. He faced her again, the storm behind his eyes breaking through. Then we use it. We let him think he's won. She blinked. You're turning his trap into yours. I'm turning his arrogance against him. Sophia watched him, admiration threading through suspicion. And what's my part in all this? You, Marco said quietly, are the reason he underestimates me. Their eyes locked. Tension electric, fragile. For the first time, she didn't look away. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. If we're going to pull this off, you need to be ready, not just with numbers, with everything. Her breath caught. You mean trust. He nodded once. And truth. Sophia swallowed hard. Then here's mine. She removed her glasses, lifted her chin, and for the first time, let him see the scar fully. The jagged reminder of a day she'd buried but never escaped. This is what silence cost me. Marco's gaze softened, not with pity but remorse. He reached out, hesitated, then traced the scar gently with his thumb. This is what cowardice cost me. For a moment the room disappeared. The weight of empire, vengeance, and betrayal, gone. Only 2 people remained. The boy who looked away. The girl who survived anyway. Sophia stepped back, blinking away tears before they could fall. Don't pity me. I don't. His voice was steady. I envy you. She frowned. Why? Because you're still capable of healing. Before she could reply, a sharp crack shattered the moment. Glass exploded across the table. A bullet whistled through the room, embedding in the wall. Down! Marco barked. pulling Sophia behind cover. His men drew weapons, scanning the windows. Another shot rang out, grazing the edge of a monitor. Sophia's heart hammered. "Someone knows." Marco's voice was calm, lethal. "They're close." He signaled two of his men toward the exit, eyes narrowed. "Find the shooter." Sophia crouched beside him, adrenaline surging. "If they wanted you dead, they'd aim for your head. They weren't aiming for me." His gaze met hers. "They were warning us." A bullet casing rolled across the floor, engraved with a single letter. C. For Chen. Marco's phone buzzed. A message. From Luca. "Boss, we need to talk. Alone." He stared at it, jaw tightening. "He's calling me out." Sophia touched his arm. "You can't go alone." His eyes met hers, fierce, unflinching. "I don't plan to." He stood, holstering his weapon. This just became personal. Sophia rose beside him. It always was. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance, but Marco's phone buzzed again, a photo flashing across the screen. The Bellini Gala ballroom, empty, waiting, and scrawled across the image in blood-red ink. "See you at midnight." The soft scent of sandalwood and varnish lingered in Elena's studio, a sanctuary carved from silence. Shelves overflowed with porcelain faces, masks of tragedy and triumph, all painted in shadows and light. Some smiled, some wept, but all stared back at Sophia Reeves as if asking, "Who will you become?" She traced her fingers along a display, each one smooth, cold, perfect. None bore scars, none showed weakness, none told the truth. Behind her, Elena adjusted her silk scarf, the faint outline of scars beneath visible only when the light shifted. "You're early." Sophia turned. "You said time is fragile. I didn't want to waste it." Elena smiled faintly. "You're learning." They studied each other for a moment. Two women carved by pain, standing in a workshop where beauty grew from broken things. "Sit," Elena said, gesturing toward the stool in the center of the room. "We'll begin." Sophia obeyed, letting the older woman circle her like a sculptor studying marble. "Tell me," Elena murmured, fingertips tracing invisible lines around Sophia's face. "What do you want this mask to say?" "That I'm not afraid." Elena paused, meeting her eyes. "And what are you really feeling?" Sophia's throat tightened. "That I might be." "Good." Elena stepped back, choosing a pencil from a row of sharpened tools. "Fear keeps you human. We'll shape it into something stronger." She began sketching, quick, graceful strokes on parchment. A design emerged, bold, elegant, edged in gold, a warrior's face, a survivor's truth. Sophia watched in silence, mesmerized. "Why do you make them?" Elena's hand stilled. "Because once I needed one too." She removed her scarf. Sophia gasped softly. The scars were delicate and deliberate, a cruel artist's signature. Lines of precision, not chaos. "Marco's father," Elena said quietly. "He called it discipline. I called it the day I stopped belonging to anyone." Sophia's eyes softened. "You were his consigliere, his lover, his mistake." Elena tied the scarf again. "When I left, I took everything he feared. His son, his secrets, his shame." The words hung heavy. "You raised Marco?" "I taught him how to survive," Elena corrected, "not how to live." Sophia hesitated. "He's different now." Elena arched an eyebrow. "Different or simply wearing a kinder mask?" Sophia looked down. "Sometimes I see both." Elena studied her. "You care for him." "I don't even trust him." "That's not what I asked." Sophia opened her mouth, closed it again. Truth was a language she hadn't spoken in years. Before she could answer, the door creaked open. Marco stepped inside, damp from rain, shadows under his eyes, power dimmed by something softer. He paused when he saw them, the sight disarming. Two women who bore his father's scars in different ways. "Elena," he said, "we need to talk." "You need to wait," she countered. "I'm building your redemption." Sophia rose, instinctively defensive. You didn't say he'd be here. He wasn't supposed to be, Elena said. But destiny rarely asks permission. Marco approached, his gaze locking with Sophia's. You shouldn't be alone here. Sophia crossed her arms. I'm safer with her than with you. He nodded once, accepting the blow. Maybe, but there's something you should know. She tensed. What? He handed her a thin folder. Your brother's accounts, the ones you flagged, they were clean. No money laundering, no manipulation. Danny planted ghost transactions to frame him, and me. Sophia scanned the documents. The numbers matched perfectly, too perfectly. Her heart twisted. So Tommy was never part of it. Marco shook his head. He's been protecting your name from inside my books. Sophia's eyes stung. And I thought he was in danger because of you. Maybe he still is, Marco said quietly, but not from me. For a moment, silence wrapped around them. Fragile, dangerous. Then Elena cleared her throat. Enough numbers. You two carry too many walls. Let's build something that hides nothing. She placed the half-finished mask in Sophia's hands. It shimmered faintly, silver laced with gold, designed not to conceal, but command attention. It's beautiful, Sophia whispered. It's you, Elena said. Strong, imperfect, unforgettable. Marco's gaze lingered. It suits you. Sophia met his eyes, voice soft but firm. You still think beauty's armor? I think truth is, he said. Their stare held, neither willing to look away. Elena moved toward a record player, the soft crackle of vinyl filling the room. A waltz began, haunting and slow. Try it on, she instructed. See how it feels. Sophia slipped the mask over her face. The world dimmed, focused. The room blurred except for Marco. He extended a hand. Dance with me. Sophia hesitated. Why? Because one day we'll have to dance in front of killers, he said. Better start with each other. She placed her hand in his. His touch was careful, steady, nothing like the cold legend she'd imagined. They moved together, slow and tentative, circling the workshop beneath flickering light. Sophia's heartbeat matched the rhythm. Marco's eyes never left hers, even behind the mask. For a fleeting moment, they weren't hunter and hunted. They were something almost human. Why are you helping me? She whispered. He answered without hesitation. Because I should have back then. Her steps faltered. You didn't even know me. I did, he said. You were the only person in that place who didn't wear a mask. And that terrified me. The music faded. They stopped, still close, breathing the same air. Elena smiled from the corner. Better. Masks reveal more than they hide. Sophia removed hers slowly, eyes shining. Maybe. Before she could speak again, her phone buzzed. Tommy. She answered instantly. Tommy, are you okay? His voice was weak but urgent. Soph, listen, there's another leak. Someone else inside. Her stomach dropped. Who? I don't know, but I found something. A ledger in Luca's files. Hidden transactions, routed through old Giordano accounts. Marco stiffened. Giordano? Sophia's pulse quickened. What does that mean? Elena's face turned pale. It means promises your father made before he died, Marco. Promises to monsters. Marco took the phone. Tommy, stay put. Don't move. The line went dead. Elena exhaled slowly. The past doesn't vanish. It waits. Marco looked at Sophia. We need to act before Luca does. She nodded, fear and resolve colliding. When? He met her gaze. Tonight. Elena placed a hand on Sophia's shoulder. Be careful. The closer you get to truth, the more dangerous it becomes. Sophia glanced at the mask in her hands, silver, bold, defiant. Then I guess I'll need this. Elena's eyes softened. Armor doesn't make you brave. It just buys you time. Sophia turned to Marco. Then let's not waste any. As they reached the door, Marco's phone buzzed again. A photo. The Bellini Gala invitation. And scrawled across it in blood-red ink. Tomorrow night. He looked at Sophia, voice low. It's time. The rain returned just after midnight. Fine, cold, relentless, as if Chicago itself sensed what was coming. Inside Marco Valenti's penthouse, floor-to-ceiling windows blurred with water, city lights bleeding into streaks of gold and gray. He stood at the window, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, waiting. The air crackled with expectation. Behind him, Sophia Reeves studied the files spread across his desk. Numbers, messages, fragments of loyalty turned into leverage. "You're sure he'll come?" she asked quietly. Marco didn't turn. "He called me. That means he's scared." He finally faced her, eyes dark. "Fear makes men talk." Sophia closed a file. "Fear also makes them kill." The elevator chimed. Marco's jaw tightened. Showtime. Luca Romano stepped in, shoulders tense beneath a soaked coat, eyes darting between them. Once he'd been Marco's right hand. Now every step he took reeked of guilt. "Boss," Luca began, voice low. "We need to talk." Marco leaned against the desk, arms crossed. "Then talk." Luca's gaze flicked toward Sophia. "Alone." "She stays," Marco said flatly. "If you're innocent, it won't matter. If you're not, she's the one who'll prove it." Sophia folded her arms, unflinching. "You've been feeding Danny Chen my data, using my investigation to bury Marco." Luca's jaw worked. "I didn't have a choice." Marco's voice hardened. "You always have a choice." "He took my daughter!" Luca burst out, anguish cracking through his composure. 2 weeks ago, said if I didn't send him everything, your accounts, your schedules, he'd send me her finger first." Sophia's breath caught. "Oh my God." Marco's eyes softened just slightly. "Where is she?" "I don't know anymore," Luca said, voice breaking. "He moves her constantly. I only get calls. He sent proof. Photos, voice messages. I swear, boss, I never wanted to hurt you." Sophia stepped closer. "Do you still have the recordings?" Luca nodded shakily, pulling a phone from his pocket. Sophia plugged it into her laptop, fingers flying. Within seconds, Danny's voice filled the room, taunting, calm, precise. "Every empire falls from within, Luca. I'm just giving yours a little push." Sophia's hands trembled as she scrubbed through audio, finding GPS pings hidden in metadata. Her pulse quickened. "Got it. Warehouse district, near the old train yards." Marco grabbed his coat. "We go now." Luca blinked. "You're helping me? After what I did?" Marco's voice was steel. "No one hurts a child to get to me." Sophia followed him to the elevator, determination chasing fear. "You're walking into a trap." "I know," Marco said. "But he doesn't know I'm bringing you." The drive was silent, tension humming like a live wire. Marco's men followed in convoy, headlights slicing through rain. Sophia sat beside him, eyes locked on the road ahead. "Why risk yourself for Luca?" she asked. "Because he made a mistake," Marco said. "Not a choice." Sophia frowned. "And what's the difference?" He glanced at her. "Mistakes can be forgiven." She studied him. The man once defined by vengeance, now chasing mercy. And something inside her shifted. They arrived at the abandoned rail yard, lights flickering weakly through fog. Marco signaled his men. "No gunfire unless I say." Sophia loaded her weapon. "You trust me with this?" He met her eyes. "I trust you more than anyone here." Her heart stumbled. "You shouldn't." "I know," he said softly. "But I do." They breached the warehouse in silence, boots echoing across concrete. The air reeked of oil and fear. In the corner, tied to a chair, a young girl, maybe 16, hair tangled, eyes wide. Luca broke first, sprinting toward her. "Isabella!" Marco's hand shot out. "Wait!" Too late. A laser dot slid across the floor. Click. Sophia's instinct screamed. "Get down!" An explosion tore through the air, not lethal, but blinding. Smoke filled the room, red lights flashing as gunfire erupted from catwalks above. Marco tackled Sophia behind a crate, bullets sparking off steel. "Ambush!" She coughed through smoke, returning fire with steady aim. "How many?" "Too many." He fired upward, dropping a shadowed figure from the rafters. We get the girl. We move. Through haze, Sophia spotted Luca shielding his daughter, yelling her name. Marco's men closed ranks, exchanging fire. Sophia crawled low, grabbed Luca's shoulder. Go, now! They ran, coughing, bleeding, alive, bursting into the storm outside. Engines roared. Marco shoved them into the SUV, climbed behind the wheel. Hold on, tires screamed. Bullets shattered the rear window. Sophia leaned out, fired twice. Clean hits, silence following. She ducked back in, breath ragged. You weren't kidding about traps. Marco smirked faintly. Danny just showed his hand. Luca held his daughter, tears streaming. Thank you, both of you. Marco's expression softened. Take her home. Stay off the radar. I'll handle Chen. Sophia touched his arm gently. That could have gone worse. He looked at her hand, pale against his scarred skin, and then into her eyes. Not if you're beside me. She froze, heart twisting, 1,000 emotions fighting for air. Before she could speak, her phone buzzed. Tommy. She answered, breathless. We're fine. Not for long, Tommy said. I broke the encryption on Danny's files. He's not just planning to kill you. Sophia's pulse spiked. Then what? He's planning to blow up the entire ballroom at the gala. Midnight, when the masks come off. Marco's gaze sharpened. He's turning it into a massacre. Sophia gripped the phone tighter. How big? Enough to take out everyone. Politicians, crime bosses, witnesses, and you two at the center. The line crackled. Sophia. He called it the unmasking. The call ended. Silence filled the car, heavy, cold, final. Marco exhaled slowly. So that's his plan. Sophia turned to him. Then we rewrite it. He nodded once. Together. Her eyes held his. Trust, fear, something more. You realize he'll come for me first. Then he'll have to go through me. She stared at him. The man she once hated, now the only one standing between her and oblivion. And something inside her broke free. Without thinking, she leaned in, brushed her lips against his. It wasn't gentle, it was gratitude, fury, promise, a collision of everything they'd never said. When she pulled back, he was silent, eyes wide, breath uneven. For luck, she whispered. He smiled faintly. Then I'll need more. Marco's phone buzzed. A message, no number, no words, just a video. The Bellini Gala ballroom. Empty. A countdown ticking on the champagne tower. 14 hours. The Bellini estate shimmered like a cathedral of sin, chandeliers blazing, marble floors gleaming, champagne flowing like liquid gold. Every corner pulsed with danger dressed in silk. The city's most powerful criminals smiled through porcelain veneers, trading threats as though they were compliments. And at the top of the grand staircase, under 1,000 watchful eyes, Marco Valenti waited. The orchestra swelled, and conversations fell into murmurs as the main doors opened. She stepped inside. Sophia Reeves. Her gown was a deep silver, the exact color of moonlight on steel. Elena's mask, a masterpiece, covered half her face, sweeping in gold filigree that shimmered with each breath. She moved through the crowd like something untouchable, every whisper chasing her. Who is she? Who dares walk beside him? Marco descended the staircase, black tuxedo tailored sharp, his presence commanding silence before he spoke a word. When their eyes met across the ballroom, time stilled. Sophia's heart beat once, hard, defiant. This was her battlefield, her reckoning. And the man who'd once looked away now couldn't look anywhere else. Marco extended a hand. Ms. Reeves. She placed her gloved fingers in his. Mr. Valenti. The room exhaled. The king and his phantom queen. He guided her down the final steps, palm resting against the small of her back, a touch gentle, claiming, necessary. They were a picture of poise, but beneath the surface, strategy, nerves, affection, and an unspoken promise, no one would leave this ballroom unchanged. Remember, Marco murmured, lips close to her ear, eyes everywhere. Smile when they look. Sophia's gaze swept the crowd. She saw Vincent Caruso, pale and fragile, seated near the stage like a dying god. She saw Danny Chen, mask black as oil, lounging with calculated charm. She saw old classmates, ghosts from Valley Prep now draped in wealth. Ashley Peters, glittering and hollow, and Jason Roberts, head of security, pretending not to remember what they'd done. Sophia's fingers curled around Marco's arm. He's here. I know. He smiled faintly. Let him watch. They drifted through the crowd, a dance without music. Every handshake, every nod, was choreography, a show of strength. Beneath it all, Sophia counted seconds. 2 hours to midnight. On the balcony, she caught her reflection, half hidden behind gold and courage. Marco joined her, offering a glass of champagne. You look like justice, he said quietly. She smiled beneath the mask. Justice wears better dresses. He chuckled. Remind me to buy you more. Her tone softened. You never needed to buy anything. You just had to show up. That truth hung between them, raw, fragile, alive. Inside, the orchestra shifted. A waltz. Marco extended his hand again. Dance? Sophia hesitated. Someone might notice. They already have. She placed her hand in his. The world blurred. They moved together, slow, deliberate, every step a truce, every turn a confession. When his palm pressed against her back, she didn't flinch. When his eyes found hers, she didn't look away. Around them, whispers rippled. Who was she? Why did he choose her? Because she was the girl no one saw. And now, no one could look away. A voice cut through the music. Valenti. They turned. Harry Martinez, sharp suit, federal badge tucked out of sight, mask plain, eyes alert. He extended a hand. Glad you came. Marco's jaw tightened. You set this up. Call it opportunity. Harry glanced at Sophia. Nice to finally meet the accountant causing so much trouble. Sophia raised a brow. You're the one who sent the message. Harry nodded. Danny Chen's going down tonight. We've been building the case for months. Needed a trigger. Marco frowned. You used us as bait. Harry's gaze was steady. No, I gave you a stage. Sophia glanced around. And the bomb? Still looking, Harry said. My team's scanning the perimeter, but he's clever. Marco's voice turned sharp. He won't risk hiding it outside. He'll want the show. Sophia's stomach tightened. Inside, then, somewhere symbolic. Marco's gaze swept the ballroom, chandeliers, champagne towers, the grand stage. Where everyone gathers at midnight? Her eyes widened. The toast. They slipped away, weaving through glittering guests and oblivious laughter. Behind the stage, crates of champagne waited, stacked beneath velvet drapes. Sophia knelt, scanning labels. One crate hummed faintly. Her blood ran cold. This one. Marco joined her. The lid came loose under his knife. Inside, wires, triggers, C4 molded into champagne bottles. Sophia exhaled shakily. How poetic. Marco's jaw clenched. How predictable. She glanced at the timer. 01:12:37. Her pulse quickened. Can we disarm it? Not alone. He tapped his comm. Harry, found it. East wing. Stage storage. Static, then silence. Sophia looked up. Signals jammed. Marco stood, scanning shadows. Then Danny's close. Back in the ballroom, Danny Chen swirled his drink, eyes fixed on the stage. When he saw Marco and the masked woman return, his grin widened. He lifted his glass toward them, mock salute. Sophia froze as his gaze locked with hers. Something in his smile said, I know. Marco, she whispered. He recognizes me. Then we end this before midnight. How? By giving him exactly what he wants. 11:45 p.m. The orchestra slowed, guests gathering near the stage for the final toast. Marco led Sophia into the spotlight, hand firm on her waist. The room hushed. Vincent Caruso rose, frail but defiant. Tonight we honor legacy, he rasped, the faces behind the masks. The kings, the queens, the heirs. And when midnight comes, the truth beneath. Sophia's heart pounded. She scanned the crowd, Harry moving through guests, Luca watching from the shadows, Danny inching closer. Marco bent toward her ear. Ready? Never, she whispered. He smiled faintly. Good. Means you're alive. The orchestra fell silent. The clock struck 11:59. Vincent raised his glass. To the future we built in blood. The crowd echoed, crystal chiming like bells. Sophia's fingers brushed Marco's. Now. He nodded. Now. But before they could move, a sharp voice sliced through the noise. Wait! Danny Chen stepped forward, mask in hand, grin feral. Before we toast, shouldn't we unmask our heroes? All eyes turned. Spotlight swung. He pointed at Sophia. Start with her, the crowd murmured. Marco stepped between them. You'll have to go through me. Danny smirked. Oh, I plan to. He snapped his fingers. The lights flickered. The timer beneath the stage began to blink faster. 00:59. Sophia's eyes widened. He armed it! Marco grabbed her hand. Stay with me. Harry lunged forward, yelling orders. Luca moved toward the stage. Guests screamed, panic erupting like wildfire. Marco spun to Sophia. You find Danny. I'll get the bomb. Are you insane? Probably. He kissed her forehead. Quick, fierce. Trust me. She gripped his arm. Don't die. He smiled. Not tonight. He turned and vanished into chaos. Sophia tore through the crowd, mask flashing gold, eyes locked on Danny. He laughed, weaving through panicked guests, taunting her over his shoulder. 10 years, Reeves. You think you can rewrite the story? She raised her gun. Watch me. He ducked into a side corridor. Staff wing. Empty now. She followed, boots echoing, pulse a drum. Every breath carried the weight of every laugh, every shove, every scar. At the corridor's end, he turned, smirk fading when he saw her aim. You were supposed to stay small, he hissed. I learned to grow. The timer's beeps echoed faintly through the hall. 0:12. Too late. Danny sneered. Sophia stepped closer. No, just on time. Behind him, Marco's voice rang out. Disarmed. Danny's eyes widened, and that 1 second was all she needed. She fired. The bullet struck the wall beside him, grazing his arm. Deliberate. He dropped the detonator. Harry's team stormed in, shouting commands. Danny hit the floor, cuffed before the smoke cleared. Sophia exhaled, legs trembling. Marco appeared through the haze, tuxedo torn, soot streaking his face. She met his eyes, and for the first time, there was no fear, only relief, only love. Midnight. The crowd gathered outside, shaken but alive. Vincent watched from a chair, pale but smiling. Guess you two rewrote the ending after all. Marco helped Sophia remove her mask. Her scar caught the moonlight, no longer hidden. Gasps rippled. Recognition dawned across familiar faces. Ashley covered her mouth. Jason looked away. Sophia stood tall. Some stories don't end in shame, she said softly. They end in truth. Marco slipped his arm around her, voice steady. And forgiveness. The city exhaled as fireworks bloomed overhead, not destruction, but rebirth. The girl they mocked had become the woman who saved them all. As the sky lit up, Harry approached, face grave. There's one more thing, he said. Danny wasn't acting alone. Sophia's eyes narrowed. Who? Harry hesitated. Someone still inside your circle. Marco's phone buzzed. A message. You may have unmasked him, but you still don't see me. The fireworks over Lake Michigan burned white against the night, reflections rippling across glass and steel. But inside the Bellini estate, where smoke and chaos still lingered, the celebration felt hollow, too quiet, too tense, too unfinished. Sophia Reeves stood near the shattered champagne tower, her gown streaked with soot and gold, her mask tucked under her arm. Every muscle trembled with exhaustion, and something sharper. The message still glowed on Marco's phone between them. You may have unmasked him, but you still don't see me. Marco's eyes, dark and unflinching, didn't leave the screen. It's not over. Harry Martinez strode in, barking orders at agents now flooding the ballroom. Bombs defused, Danny's in custody, but someone else fed him access codes. Without inside intel, he couldn't have planted it here. Sophia's mind raced. Someone from the guest list? Harry shook his head. Closer. Marco pocketed the phone, jaw tight. Then we start with mine. Sophia frowned. You think it's one of your own? I know it is, he said quietly. Danny couldn't guess security protocols. Someone gave him the blueprint. Luca approached, arm around his daughter, face pale. My people are clean, I swear. I believe you, Marco said. But the circle's small. Sophia glanced at him. Who else has access? Marco's silence was answer enough. Sophia's breath hitched. No. He didn't look at her. Elena. They drove through empty streets, the city eerily calm after the storm. Sophia gripped the mask in her lap, gold catching passing lights. She saved us. She saved me once. Marco murmured, voice flat. Doesn't mean she won't sell me now. Why would she? Sophia's voice cracked. She hates your father. She hates what he built. Maybe that's why. Marco's fingers tightened on the wheel. Maybe she wants to finish what he started by tearing it down. The rain returned, streaking the windshield like tears. Sophia stared out into the dark. If you're wrong, I hope I am. But deep down, he didn't. Elena's studio waited, silent, dim, walls lined with faces frozen mid-scream. Marco pushed through the door, gun drawn. Elena! No answer. They stepped inside. A single candle burned on the workbench beside a half-finished mask. Not Sophia's, not Marco's. This one was cracked down the middle, gold peeling from silver, beautiful and broken. A note lay beside it. Sophia reached for it first. Some masks are built to protect, others to confess. Come alone if you want the truth. No signature, just an address, Old Giordano Shipyard, the same name carved into Marco's nightmares. Sophia looked up. It's a trap. Marco holstered his weapon. Every truth is. She grabbed his arm. You're not going alone. I have to. You promised me partnership. He met her eyes. And you'll keep that promise by staying alive. Her voice sharpened. You don't get to decide that. For a heartbeat, silence. Then Marco sighed. Fine. But if it goes bad, I shoot first, she said. You taught me. He almost smiled. Good girl. The Giordano shipyard loomed at the city's edge, rusting cranes like skeletons, waves crashing against forgotten docks. Fog curled low across cracked pavement. Marco's headlights cut through it, revealing a single figure waiting by the water. Elena. She stood in her silk robe, wind whipping her hair, candlelight flickering from a lantern at her feet. Her scarred face was bare, her expression unreadable. You came, she said. Of course I did, Marco replied. You summoned me. Sophia stepped out beside him. And we came together. Elena's eyes flicked between them, something like sadness crossing her face. Then maybe there's hope. Marco's voice was steel. The message, the codes, you gave them to Danny. No. She shook her head slowly. But I gave them to someone who did. Sophia's stomach turned. Who? Elena's voice dropped. Vincent. Marco froze. That's impossible. He's dying. And before dying, he wanted penance. Elena's gaze softened. He sold you both to Danny, to force your hand, to burn away what your father built. Sophia's pulse hammered. He wanted Marco to fall. No, Elena whispered. He wanted you to rise. The wind howled, tugging at her robe. Vincent believed only fire can cleanse an empire. He gave Danny the codes, but not the timing. Danny betrayed him too. Marco stepped forward, fury breaking through. You helped him. I guided him, she admitted. The boy who killed his father needed something stronger than guilt. He needed truth. Sophia stared. So you manipulated him. I prepared him. Elena's eyes glistened. For this moment. When he'd finally choose. Marco's voice dropped. Choose what? Mercy. She pointed toward the pier. Vincent's there, armed, waiting. They found him in a wheelchair, wrapped in blankets, oxygen hissing softly. His mask was gone, revealing a face ravaged by illness and regret. Marco, Vincent rasped, lifting a trembling gun. I told your father I'd collect what he owed. Marco didn't move. And you think that's me? Vincent coughed, bitter and weak. No. It's her. Sophia stiffened. Me? You, he croaked. The girl our sins scarred. The one we broke to build boys into monsters. Marco's eyes narrowed. She owes you nothing. Vincent's gaze shifted between them. You don't understand. You were never meant to rule, Marco. You were meant to repent. Sophia stepped forward. Put the gun down. Vincent's hand shook. The mask, the gala, the bomb, all of it, a stage for truth. What truth? She demanded. That even monsters can love. He smiled faintly. And maybe love is the only thing strong enough to kill them. His finger tightened on the trigger. Marco moved, faster than thought. A single shot cracked the air. Silence. Vincent slumped, gun sliding from his hand. Marco stood over him, chest heaving, smoke curling from his weapon. Sophia stared. You didn't have to. He aimed at you, Marco said. I wasn't losing you too. Vincent's eyes fluttered open one last time. Then maybe you've already won. And then he was gone. Rain poured harder, washing blood into the sea. Sophia knelt beside the body, tears mingling with salt water. He was trying to end it. Marco crouched next to her. He already did. She looked up, eyes wet, voice trembling. How many more ghosts until it's over? He brushed a strand of hair from her face, fingers gentle. Just one. Her breath hitched. Who? Me. She shook her head, gripping his hand. Don't you dare. But he wasn't listening. Not to her, not to himself. He pulled a drive from his pocket, pressed it into her palm. Every file, every ledger. Enough to dismantle everything. Legally, cleanly. Marco, I built this empire on blood, he said quietly. You'll rebuild it with light. No. Tears burned. We'll rebuild it. Together. He stared at her, really stared. And for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to just her eyes. Say it again, he whispered. Together. Something broke inside him. Not strength, but surrender. He exhaled, leaning his forehead against hers. Then I'll stop running. A siren wailed in the distance, Harry's agents closing in. Marco straightened. Time to pay the debt. Sophia grabbed his arm. I won't let them take you. He smiled faintly. You won't have to. They're not taking me. I'm giving myself. The blue lights grew closer. Sophia clutched the drive, trembling. What did you do? Marco stepped forward, hands raised as agents swarmed the dock. I called them. Harry emerged, shouting. Marco, I'm done, Marco said. This ends with me. Sophia's voice shattered. No. He turned once more, eyes locking with hers. I loved you even then, he said softly. I was just too afraid to be different. And before she could move, they were dragging him away, into flashing lights and sirens, leaving her standing in the rain with nothing but a mask and a promise. Sophia fell to her knees on the pier, clutching the drive to her chest. Lightning split the sky. In her reflection, the mask shimmered, half gold, half broken, and she whispered into the storm, Then I'll finish what you started. 6 months later, Chicago no longer felt like a battlefield. Morning light spilled across the skyline, painting steel and glass in gold. And from her corner office on the top floor of Valenti Enterprises, Sophia Reeves watched the city breathe, alive, unafraid. The empire was different now. No more shell companies, no offshore accounts, no blood in the books. She'd burned the old ledgers, rewritten every line, turned the house of crime into a fortress of truth. Below her, the lobby bustled. Lawyers, accountants, engineers, people who built, not broke. They called her CFO, but everyone knew. She was the one who saved them. On her desk sat a single photo. Marco, laughing, sleeves rolled up, sunlight across his face. A reminder of a man who learned too late how to live. Or maybe not too late. A knock. Tommy stepped in, crisp suit, a notebook tucked under his arm. "Morning, boss." She smiled. "You're 5 minutes early." "Habit," he said. "Final numbers look good. Revenue's up, audits are clean, and the IRS sent a thank you letter." She raised a brow. "Flattery from the feds? Now I've seen everything." Tommy grinned. "Guess we're legitimate now." Sophia leaned back, eyes soft. "We were always legitimate, just needed proof." He hesitated. "You've heard from him?" Her smile faded, replaced by something quieter. "Once a week, postmarked from a federal facility outside Denver. He says the coffee's terrible, but the sunsets are honest." Tommy studied her. "You miss him?" "Every day," she said simply. "But he's where he chose to be. That's what redemption looks like." Tommy placed a small envelope on her desk. Invitation came this morning. Elena's charity gala. Sophia opened it. Inside, a card etched in silver. "The Masquerade of Mercy, funding reconstructive surgery for survivors of violence." And beneath, "Hosted by Elena Marchetti and Valenti Enterprises." Her throat tightened. "She did it." Tommy smiled. "You'll be there?" "Wouldn't miss it." He turned to leave, then paused. "You ever think about," he gestured vaguely, sheepish, "life? Outside all this?" Sophia chuckled softly. "You mean love?" Tommy shrugged. "Maybe." She glanced at the photo again, the man who taught her courage in a world that fed on fear. "I think about it," she whispered. "Every day." That evening, Elena's ballroom glowed with candles and laughter, a place reborn, like its host. Scarlet drapes, silver masks, and the hum of possibility filled the air. But this time, the masks weren't hiding anyone. They were symbols of survival. Sophia entered in a soft gold gown, no mask on her face. Her scar shimmered gently in the light, no longer shame, but signature. Applause rippled through the crowd. Whispers followed, not cruel this time, but reverent. There she was, the woman who faced monsters and taught them mercy. Ashley Peters approached, hesitant. "Sophia?" Sophia turned. The years showed in Ashley's eyes, and regret. "I came to apologize," Ashley said quietly, "for everything." Sophia studied her, the trembling hands, the sincerity. "You can't change the past," she said gently, "but you can build something better. Start there." Ashley's eyes filled. "Thank you." Sophia nodded. We all wore masks, some heavier than others. As the orchestra shifted, Harry Martinez took the stage, microphone in hand. "Tonight we celebrate not power, but transformation. Thanks to Valenti Enterprises, every donation funds surgeries for survivors. People who thought they'd never be seen again." Applause thundered. "And," Harry continued, "I'm proud to announce the Sophia Reeves Scholarship, supporting students who rise after cruelty, proof that scars don't end stories, they begin them." Tears pricked Sophia's eyes. She never wanted a spotlight, but maybe tonight she could stand in it, not for pain, but for purpose. Elena appeared beside her, elegant as ever. "You look radiant," she said. Sophia smiled. "So do you." Elena's gaze softened. "You've done what none of us could, turned an empire into grace." "I had help." Elena nodded toward the balcony. "Perhaps more than you think." Sophia frowned. "What do you mean?" Elena's lips curved. "See for yourself." Sophia stepped onto the balcony, city lights stretching below, cool air carrying the scent of rain. And there, leaning against the railing, hair shorter, eyes the same impossible blue, Marco Valenti. Her breath caught. He turned at the sound and smiled, soft, unsure. "Hey, accountant." She froze. How?" "Early release," he said, voice low. Harry pulled strings. Good behavior, bad jokes. Tears blurred her vision. "You should have told me. Wanted to see if you'd still look at me the same way." She laughed through tears. Worse. Now you're free. I might actually kill you. He grinned. Worth it. She crossed the space in 3 steps and was in his arms. All sharp suits and warm breath and everything she'd thought she'd lost. He held her like a promise kept and whispered, "Told you I'd come back." She pulled back, cupping his face. "The city's clean. The books are honest. We did it." He kissed her forehead. "You did. I just signed where you told me." She smiled. "Still learning to follow orders?" He leaned close. "Only yours." They laughed, quiet and real. 2 people unmasked at last. Inside, the music swelled. Harry lifted his glass. 2 second chances. Sophia rested her head against Marco's chest. "To seeing clearly." He kissed her hair. "To the girl who made the monster human." She looked up, eyes shining. "And the man who saw the girl behind the scar." Weeks later, in their new home above the river, sunlight filled the room where a framed mask hung on the wall, silver and gold, cracked and whole. Sophia traced its edge, whispering, "We don't need it anymore." Marco stepped behind her, hands gentle on her shoulders. "Maybe not," he said, "but it reminds us how far we came." She smiled. "From masks to mirrors." He kissed her temple. "From survival to love." And when she turned to face him, eyes bright and full, she took his hand, pressed it to her stomach. Marco froze. Then his gaze softened. "Really?" She nodded, tears trembling on her lashes. "We're building something new." He smiled, wide, genuine, full of awe. "Then let's make sure this city stays clean for them." She leaned into him, heart steady. "It will." Outside, Chicago glittered. Not a kingdom of fear, but of forgiveness. A city where power meant protection, and love was no longer a weakness. And in their home above the lights, beneath a mask that once hid everything, Marco and Sofia Valenti stood together, unmasked, unafraid, and finally free. A city reborn, a family beginning, a mask on the wall, cracked, golden, eternal, reminding them both, true strength isn't hiding, it's choosing to be seen. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.